Hello, beautiful signers. Before we get into this week's episode, we have some more reviews to read. Yay!
Yeah.
We love reviews, don't we, folks?
Oh, we sure as fuck do. Reviews make the podcast world go round, sheeple.
If you are not aware, if you leave us a 5-star review, we will read it on the podcast, positive, negative, as long as it isn't any kind of racist, sexist, ableist, we will read it. This is a great way for you to sneak in some questions. Also, constructive criticism. We do appreciate it because this podcast is as much for you as it is for us. And we love hearing what you like, what you don't like, suggestions about episode topics and things. So it really does help us help you. And it makes us feel good. We love these reviews. It's so nice to hear from you guys. A lot of times we're just kind of talking to each other into the void, and we assume that you like it because you're listening. We know that. But it's nice to hear from you too. So we really appreciate it. It also helps people find us. It helps people chart, so on and so forth. But
you could also plug yourself or your own business. I mean, if you want to be a real greedy with it, it's okay. Just give us the 5.
It's not even greedy. It's a good way. It's an efficient way.
We're offering deals on the table. So
go for it. So here are some of our new reviews. This first one comes from 7 Cap. It's a Trap. Love that name. Entitled "No 11th House Love?" ? Okay, ladies, love the pod, but when are we getting back to the houses? I have 7 planets in the 11th house for real. Patience is a virtue, but this year has taken an eternity already. Much love. Sorry we are behind on these reviews. We have since gotten to the 11th house, and thank you for your patience.
Even the 12th.
I can't even imagine the 12th house people are like, you have to be fucking kidding me.
Yes.
No, the 12th house people are like, we know this world. We know things are eternity.
I am one of them, and I know I'd be like, they forgot us.
We promise we don't forget you. We just, the houses once took a while. We had to schedule accordingly, and
we had great guests too. It's like, we're beholden.
Shit happens.
Life happens.
Also,
life
this is a
while you're
free
busy making
podcast.
plans.
This is a free FREE also, or you could pay on Patreon and get some bonus episodes. But no, we hear you. We didn't forget. We're just slow as fuck.
Thank you for listening.
This review is from Leslie 123445688765432. What a username.
Okay.
My favorite pod. Found this pod in 2018. I've been listening religiously ever since. This is by far the funniest, most entertaining, engaging podcast for astroheads like me out there. I give professional readings and can say I have and continue to get a ton out of this pod. Refreshers, new takes on old material, and aspects to astrology I've never explored. If you're not on the What's Your Sign Patreon yet, truly, what are you doing? I recently won a raffle chart reading. These ladies just blew me away. What else can I say except I'm embarrassed it took me so long to write a 5-star review, and I'm ever grateful to have found these intuitive, insightful, generous, and hilarious astro girls. Shout out for the tarot deck I'm illustrating, which can be found on my Instagram at LD.vision. So that's L as in Larry, D as in David, .vision on Instagram. So again, that's a tarot deck that our wonderful reviewer is illustrating at ld.vision. Cool. Well, we're gonna check it out. We love
it. I can't wait to see it.
Love a custom illustrated tarot deck. Love all y'all's mystic practices, artwork. So great use of a review right here. Plugged our Patreon, plugged their own work. Perfect example of how to write a 5-star review right here.
Thank you, Leslie. Our next review comes from Boo Boo Birdie, and it's titled Astrocartography. Love this episode with Keon. I was really interested in what Lisa said about her Venus line going through New Orleans. Would love if y'all talked more about astrocartography and how to find your own astro map. Thank you, Boo Boo Birdie. I recommend you check out the AstroClick travel section of astro.com. Kind of click around there and see, and don't forget that those lines are creating aspects to each other in your natal chart. So don't just think there's a bunch of lines right there, I gotta go there. Is not always the first, or maybe the first idea, not always the best idea. Remember that if you see, like I have a conjunction of Sun, Jupiter, Mercury. So if you see those 3 lines intersecting other things, remember what parts, I guess, what aspects in your natal chart they're creating. It could be squares, trines, conjunctions. You get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get an astrocartographer on the we've been saying this for till kingdom come, but it's on my Trello board.
It's going on the Discord.
Yeah, let's throw it on the
admin
episode
board.
Yeah. We'll get Sherry on the books. We have to. We're obsessed with Sherry Zollinger again. Great astrocartographer, astrologer. Check her out.
Next review comes from Red Monkey Lover, titled Woo Woo. Slight California woo woo vibes, but even a Capricorn can appreciate this podcast. Love the female energy. Keep it up. Thank you.
Oh my God, that's
slight.
Yeah, I was gonna say
extreme California woo woo vibes.
I'm offended. Up the ante. We are major California woo woo vibes, baby. This is what we strive for. My new AM pod by Hermione O. I already knew this is going to be lit when they started talking about the Great Conjunction, but when they brought in social justice with an astrological spin, I was hooked. How did it take me this long to find this community? I'll never know, but I'm definitely a fan. Oh, well, welcome.
Thank you. We're glad you
Better
found
late
us
than
now.
never. Yeah, we're always here. We're always chilling. And thank you, Hermione.
Thank you. Your next review comes from N. Nemi, and it's titled Delightfully Satisfies My Chatty Side. TLDR, please consider changing how you transition to ads. Love, love, love. What's your sign? Thank you, ladies, for being so reliable and the best of company. You've gotten me through breakups, moves, my Saturn return, and now a pandemic. Who would think that I would really look forward to Mondays? Really, Mondays are my podcast day. I listen and go for a walk on the beach. I'm a Leo sun, and I just finished my Saturn return. I'm curious about what you think of my Chiron being at an exact opposition to my Saturn. Chiron first house, Saturn 7th. My first house also has my Venus, Jupiter, and Pallas. I'm a Cancer ruled chart with a Scorpio moon in the 5th house. What do I need to know about speaking up and having permission to really be me? My Mercury 3rd house, 29-degree Leo, has a lot of opinions. I struggle with this. Sometimes I feel like, why bother with speaking up? There's so much drama as is. Speaking of speaking up, I have to admit the Enneagram episode almost turned me off completely. We know, we've heard. I am glad that I pushed past that because the pod is a gem overall. That episode, though, hurt my soul and really didn't do the beautiful system justice we are aware. I know it was a new topic for y'all, but I think you could stand to do a redo after doing more research or reflecting on what you said there. Also, I really just came here to plead that you change how you do ads. I'm jazzed for you to be getting paid compensation. As a listener, I must say it is so jarring how there's almost zero transition. It messes with my brain. Anyone else have this experience? I recommend at least adding a one-liner, which I think we did, or a quick jingle or something to signal the transition. Please, hopefully yours, no planets in air.
Yes, we did respond to the ads thing because I think we saw this before we read this. So we have a little warning thing. We didn't know. So sorry about that one.
I also think that your Chiron is an exact opposition to your Saturn. Like, I bet there's a lot of boundaries that you place on yourself and think about a lot. There's probably a lot of push-pull on, and you kind of even spoke to that with, speaking up and permission and all those kind of things. I think when we have oppositions, it's kind of that push-pull energy. And one of the things I've recently learned in yoga is like sometimes using that energy, pushing against yourself can actually make you much stronger in your roots. So like if you're, you have your two legs on the ground, and you're pushing your calves together, can really make you, if you're in a forward fold, it can really make your forward fold stronger. It can make you kind of bend closer towards the ground. So remembering that when you have those two things in opposition to each other, remembering to ground yourself, because that is how we grow stronger, is by having a little bit of opposition.
Well, I think too, it's interesting because you've brought up this kind of idea of pushing past and going further than what feels comfortable, or acknowledging that you don't like something and continuing on, which is very Chiron opposition to Saturn to me, of that thing of like, oh, this triggers me, or this brings something up. Sorry to use the word trigger in this because I don't think it's necessarily applicable, but that idea of like, oh, I bristle at this, and yet I'm going to remain curious and push through because there are aspects of this that I do like. Even bringing up the idea that it was like, oh, this episode could have turned me off, but I kept listening because I did find value, and I'm able to kind of separate that this was a one-time thing and do those things. And I think that oppositions make us feel like they're real either or. There's either I'm speaking up or I'm not speaking up, when really it's a constant kind of compromise and juggle of like, well, I'm going to say this thing that bothers me and I'm going to hold on to this thing and give allowance for maybe someone else was having a bad day. So I'm going to call attention to like how my feelings are, but I'm not going to write this person off completely and those kinds of things. So it sounds like you really are embodying this opposition. And in terms of speaking out, I mean, you're here, we're reading your review. It does not to minimize anything, but also, I mean, you clearly have found a way to speak up in some capacity. You're voicing your opinion, you're sharing with us in all of those ways. So I think it's like, give yourself credit for being where you're at. You're doing it.
Yeah. Also, like, we know that we fucked up the Enneagram episode. I don't know if that's something we'll have to talk about revisiting, because that is one that a lot of people really didn't like, and I don't want to make it worse personally.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we
I
could have
don't
an
wanna do
Enneagram.
anything that
Maybe we could have an
apologies,
Enneagram
I don't know.
person. We
Yeah.
could have an
that
Enneagram
would be
person
great if
on.
we had an expert or someone that really knows about it, because I think from researching, like, astrology is something that is a passion for us, and I know that a lot of people are really passionate about the Enneagram. So when we come into something like that isn't necessarily our fucking quote unquote thing, like, I don't want to do a disservice to it, and I apologize that came out that way. However, we talked about it, like, it was just an instinctual reaction, and like you said, we're not experts in it. But it would be nice to have someone on that we could talk to about it and learn more about ourselves in that way.
Well, it's interesting. People feel really personal about the Enneagrams. And I think since we don't, astrology is really ancient, where Enneagrams and human design and all this other stuff is really new. So I think there are things to be critical of Enneagrams and human design and also astrology. But I'm glad you didn't write us off because of one episode where we are not the experts on any, and I don't even know if we say it right still to this day.
Yeah, I don't actually either.
but also a lot of people asked for us to speak on it, so we did. And then then it was like, wait, what are these bitches talking about with look, all I know is we're all threes, and that's all I know, and that's all I will
like,
know.
It made me feel like a 3 out of 10. I'll tell you that.
But I give it a 3. You do have this
episode's 3 stars.
You do have this like analytic 29-degree Leo Mercury in this third house, and you say you struggle with this about speaking up or drama. And I think, like, you write it in this very succinct way where I understand where you're coming from, where it's, what Julia said, like the acknowledgement of self and then the acknowledgement of what you're writing about. So I think maybe writing, I don't know what you do for work, or if maybe that's like an approach to like sorting out what is important, what's worth speaking up about, what's not. Like speaking about our ads. Yeah. Hell yeah. Speaking about an episode that maybe is like, sure. Like, we're not going to get it right 100% of the time, because that's not what we're here to do either. We're here to be friends, having fun, talking about astrology, and maybe learning a dumb thing here or there. Congrats on finishing your Saturn return.
Yeah.
I think you sound awesome, and like, you should have your own podcast. There, I'll say it. Maybe there's some like, you sound like, I think having a lot of opinions on something, like, who cares what people think about you? Like, I mean, don't hurt people, don't be a dick. But you mentioned, like, is it worth like the drama? You're a Leo. What do you think? Of course it is. Like let's
also, when it's not.
Yeah.
You speak up about someone's socks, like, no, like, when it's worth it.
Yeah. And maybe it's that,
Trust
you
yourself.
did mention the Scorpio moon in the 5th that is going to play cards a little closer to the chest, that does want to be a little more strategic. And it's just probably figuring out a fine balance of the two, of like, how do I get out what I value and need? I mean, you did mention, I think, with Venus and like all these Cancer-y things up front, right? And all this Capricorn-y stuff in the back. So it sounds like saying what you value and need is very important. This moon maybe might fight against it, but maybe it is doing that very Leo self-practical approach of writing it down, or, weighing the pros and cons. It's like a Venn diagram. Like, is this worth the if I bring this up, I'm going to also have to hear a response, right? Like, that's part of bringing shit up. And here's your response. And it wasn't that bad. Well, was it? Like, it's just like, yeah, cool. We hear you. We're not offended. We've heard way worse things about us. So this was great.
Thank you, N and Ami. We are very grateful for review and for your sharing. For again, I like hearing the criticism and the thoughts because it helps us be better in the future. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you all for your wonderful reviews. If you've left one, we are eternally grateful. And if you haven't, consider giving us one. You can share your thoughts about the pod. You can ask questions. You can drop your your Insta, your projects, your
business
music, your art, your
dealings.
business, whatever it is. You guys make this possible for us. So if we also can help share your work on our platform, that's part of why we do this, and it makes us feel good to know that we're creating this community and using this platform for a purpose. So thank you so much for your reviews. We love you. Enjoy this week's episode.
I've got friends with attitudes. They're selfish and lazy. Is this just astrology? Mercury, maybe. My friends get so sensitive. It drives me crazy. So you can be my new friend if you answer this, baby. What's your sign? What's your sign, baby? What's your sign? What's your sign?
Welcome to What's Your Sign? I'm Julia Loken.
I'm Stevie Anderson.
And I'm a little spark of this podcast.
Ooh, just a
Aw.
tiny little sparky, the first spark, if you will.
Cute. Aren't you the
Spark.
cutest little spark?
A little spark.
Spark it up, baby.
Nicholas Sparks, if you will.
Oh.
I won't.
I won't either, actually.
Thinking
What,
back
look up
to
Nicholas
my
Sparks' natal chart.
That's so funny. That just gave me a flashback of like being in high school and being like, The Notebook didn't make me cry. Like,
Whoa. That is
I didn't like
that's
The Notebook either, but I don't know why. I don't know if it was overhype or like situation with my dad or there's just like
yeah.
it's too much.
But
It's
I
too
also
much
just
to unpack.
realized
I rewatched it recently because it was one of the only DVDs in an Airbnb over the holidays, and it was better than I was ready to hate watch, and I was like, I kind of like that. It was one of the. I was like, oh, I kind of like that a little more than I planned. Hella cheesy, hella corny, problematic, of course, but that spark between Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams was just hard to deny. They had great on-screen chemistry.
Well, also, it's just never a hot take to be like, something didn't move me. And I realize that as I get older, and I do feel like that's my like Capricorn IC to Cancer MC of like, the answer is never like less tenderness, less feeling, less whatever. So now it's like, you don't have to cry, but you can also say like, I enjoyed that. Like, you don't get points for being unmoved by things.
I think the move, if you really are, because I'm definitely one of those where someone once said to me like, oh, did you know like not liking things is not a personality trait? And I was like, oh, I didn't. And
wait, what?
But like hating things or whatever. But like I think that the move is, if you didn't like it, you cannot like it. You don't have to say I didn't like it. You could actually bring up something that you do enjoy. And it can be tangentially related. Oh, this scene where they're blah, blah, blah. It really reminds me of XYZ. And I really love this one movie where they do everything in the mail or whatever. I love the mail.
Well, I mean, this actually goes into, I think, Aries culture and in general. It's like, why harsh somebody's mellow, right? Like if someone likes the fucking Notebook, they like the Notebook. You not liking the Notebook is like, okay, duh, there's only two options here, really, right? Like, or I guess there's like a middle of like, I feel indifferent about the Notebook, but It's like the whole like the Beatles were actually bad. It's like, okay, well, this is like
don't you dare.
this is like a boring argument by this point of like it's extremely subjective and like who cares?
I mean, I think it's not subjective. I think for you to say the Beatles was a really bad band is objectively incorrect. They're like the longest standing
and talented. Did they get many opportunities because of the era of the world and what was happening? Sure.
Are there things we can reflect on systemically that allowed this to happen? But it's also like, yeah, I think like what both of you are saying of this idea, which is, we can just get into it, a very Aries thing to me of just saying like, it's not, you don't not like it because someone else doesn't like it. If you say it's fine to not like something, but just own that and be like, oh, I actually didn't enjoy it. I enjoy this movie, or like, but I like these kinds of things, or I didn't enjoy it for these reasons. Why did you enjoy it? That's interesting that we had different experience of this. What did you like? What did you like about it? Because what made me upset was this thing. And it's not saying like the movie is bad. It's saying
or your opinion, which is what you're really saying a lot of the time.
Oh yes.
What you're saying is, oh, that's interesting. Here are my feelings.
I'm judging you for liking these things.
Yeah.
Is the majority of folks. When I think Aries realize we all love horrible things. So like who cares?
And it's just
we all love dumb shit.
It's just like, this is how I felt about it. And there's nothing else. This also doesn't say anything about my taste or your taste or what I'm going to like tomorrow. Or if I still am can I still be a film person if I didn't like this movie or whatever? And it's like, yeah, I can be whatever fucking person I want because I am that person. Like, it's not these things. I am a film person because I'm a film person, and I didn't like this movie because I didn't like these parts or whatever. Like, it's just so individual, not only like about the individual, but also like each thing as an individual, completely separate, completely individual thing.
Okay, I just added a new bullet point to the things I appreciate and love about Aries is, and again, we're generalizing, whatever, like save it for the comments. It's just there's no guilty pleasure when it comes to Aries. It's just pleasure. Like I said, we all love things that aren't cool, and we do love things that are cool. And I don't know. I feel like I know many Aries who are like pro juggalos. They're like almost like, yes, go live your life, juggalos. Like, that's amazing that you found other juggalos. like that is cool that you found community. And why would I judge such a like kind of raw experience? So that's what I think of. Like when I think of Aries, I think of juggalos a lot of the time.
You know what you just reminded me of? And this is a personal story that I don't even know if the person's an Aries, but I think they are. Mm-hmm. One time I was at this open mic and someone had a film crew there and I was furious about it. And I kept complaining. Like, I'm like, who the fuck did this? I'm like, who brought a fucking film crew to the place where you're supposed to bring unprepared material? Who the fuck did this? I'm so mad. And I was like asking everyone, I'm like, who the fuck's fucking cameras are these and why are they here? And I'm going to go put on a shirt that says Nike on it so that they can't use my set. And like, I was being such a bitch about it. And also I was right. I still stand by that. But I think that one of the people I was complaining to the most was the person that had brought the film crew. Oh. And I found it out later. And I was kind of embarrassed, but also like, I stand by what I said. You do not do that. And also like surprise. And it was a show that it was a show, like an open mic. I can't even explain it. It was a thing where you were supposed to bring new material. It was like a new material open mic showcase where it's like, you fucking come, everyone here knows that this shit is not polished.
It'd be rough.
People brought cameras. What the fuck? I don't want you seeing unpolished with, especially like I'm not even that good at comedy. So like
I didn't sign a release form. What is happening here?
I didn't sign a release form and nothing ever got released, I don't think. But that person was so cool about it. And I always think of that where I'm like, if anyone's ever talking shit about something like that I did, I want to be that cool where I'm not. Right. And I do think they're in Aries. I'm not sure they are, but I do think they are. And they were just like, oh yeah, like, I don't know whose cameras it is. Like, they were like, I don't know. Yeah, keep talking about how annoying it is.
Again, I had never thought about it as in these terms, but I think this is really opening my eyes, and like I'm loving it because I have Jupiter in Aries and I have my North Node in Aries, and so it's always something that I am thinking about, and I feel like I've been getting really wrong in this like made up dilemma that I have in my head of like, well, how do you be, because to me the biggest struggle, and I think this is like the Libra Aries struggle, is like, how do you be an individual when you are also aware that there are other people? How do you do it? Because to me,
Mhm.
I'm like the mere acknowledgement that other people and other feelings have to be considered means that no one really ever is allowed to just think about themselves, because like the only time you're allowed to just think about yourself when it's just you, or when it's like when you're before you're aware that there are other people. But once other people are in the mix, now it is unfair to not consider other people. But I like this idea of it still just being like everything is ultimately a collection of individual things. Of course, I wouldn't get mad um about you talking shit about this camera situation. One, because you're not talking shit about me. You don't know that it's me. You're talking about the situation. One.
Mm.
Two, that's your individual opinion. You aren't, again, talking about anything that is affecting me or about that's not my opinion. So what does it matter what your opinion is? But also then taking these things again as like a thing that is not tied to a bigger set of meanings or a bigger set of opinions or anything. It's just the one time thing, and I'm not gonna put meaning on it until there is meaning on it. If every time I see Lisa, she is the person talking shit about this thing, then I'm gonna go, oh, that's Lisa's thing, and I'll make another meaning of it or whatever. But it isn't like these other signs, because it's the first sign coming in with no other connections or preconceptions about people, about things, about what this means or whatever. And I think that Juggalos one too is that same thing where it's like, why would you judge someone for liking a thing, going out and finding other people that doing it and enjoying themselves? What possible, like, where is the possible bad context of that?
They've literally
person-
taken it to a cave down in Southern
Yeah,
Illinois
they're
and
not
away
hurting
from you.
anybody.
The person that I'm talking about is a
Is a
juggalo, I think.
juggalo? No,
I
stop.
think
No,
so.
they're not.
No, I swear to God. And they're really
that's-
cool. They might be a Taurus actually, but I do think that I can't remember their
it
birthday.
You
is
should
that
text them,
thing
hey, are you an
too.
Aries and or juggalo? We can't sound
Well,
off.
it's that thing too.
They
where
are a
it's
juggalo.
also-
I'm like almost
Dude.
100 on juggalo.
They gotta be. I believe it. But it is also that thing of saying, like, I'm not telling someone I'm doing the thing that I most like and do that thing because I think everybody should be able to do that thing for them. And so I'm
Mhm.
never going to tell someone not to do a thing that they like, because doing what you like is the fucking coolest thing you could do. And when you do what
Mhm.
you like, you're always doing something cool because it's what you like. What could be more uncool than like,
Oh.
what could be less cool than doing something you don't actually like? That's fucking stupid.
I love that.
So
And
true.
I'm free associating writing as we chat, because some things are coming up where you said something about like knowing when to be the self versus like thinking of the collective. And something I just wrote down was like, oh, you know what's cool about Aries is a lot of times they know when they want to be the passenger and they know when they want to be the leader. And I think Aries are really good at being like, well, no, like I don't really care what we do on this Friday night. I'm going to go with whoever feels the most passionately about like, let's go to A, B, or C. And maybe I'll do B, or maybe I'll go to C. But if it's a thing I really want to do, then yeah, I'll like invite you and figure it out and go there. So I think it's just knowing when they want to have the control or release the control, depending on what mood they're in or like how they're feeling about the whole situation.
Well, and we just have so much distrust of someone who just is saying, no, this is what I want to do. We always assume, because we're always, and again, I'm very much speaking of myself right now, but I realize when I distrust people's motivation, it's because I'm often not honest about my like feelings in a situation or something. And not to say that I'm lying or that I'm being like sus, but it's more this thing of like taking into consideration. I'm not going to just immediately say, oh, I want to go to this place because I'm interested in wherever. I don't want to shut someone else down from not saying what they want to do,
Mhm.
because I don't need it to be my thing. But also there is something I think really like innocent and again separate, like it isn't it isn't too much or overbearing to just state, I'm in the mood for blah, 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 or that's a thing. Like, it's just a fact. It doesn't mean anything else. It doesn't mean nobody else can say their thing. And if someone else doesn't say their thing because you've said your thing, that's their shit. That's not because you flat out said your thing. But I think we are trained to not speak from that place in a lot of ways because we're adults, because we consider other things, because that's what babies just say what they want. You know what I mean? Like that kind of idea of it being more sophisticated if you have these parameters around it, or these reasons why you make decisions, as if just your gut feeling about something is not like smart enough, cool enough, whatever it is, when it's like, no, that's the only place that we make decisions from, really. Like everything else is another thing, but it's not like, I don't know, either like it or you don't, or you do. Like, it's
It's interesting because I really don't think, and this is kind of something that I had written down about this episode, is like, I really don't think I know a lot about how to access Aries. And like, I date an Aries, and like, he's a Taurus rising, so I think a lot of the times I feel like our setup is like the same, and we have like kind of a very similar lens on life, which is true, but we're still different people. And the other day he told me, like, because every day I'll try to be like, hey, what do you want for dinner? Like, what should we do? I'll try to plan something, because we only have 2 hours together really during the day. And it's like 4 to 6. So I'll try to plan like to have something ready, or like something in the kitchen if like we want to eat together quickly. But he told me recently, like, he's like, I hate deciding what to eat. He's like, and I'm a Taurus with a Taurus rising, where I'm like, I love deciding what to eat. Like,
that's
I know,
like the foundation
like,
of my life. Like,
on your birthday, like, you know, of course, like, he's gonna want to pick or whatever. And like at certain times, like, he'll say like, I'm really craving this, or he's not like, I never want to decide. He's just like, yeah, it's just really not something I look forward to doing ever. And I was like, oh, cool. And so now I have a new strategy that I do, where I text him and I say, like, we have like these 4 things, or like there's takeout. Instead of saying like, what do you want?
Too open-ended.
Few options, and then, or you can fend for yourself. And it's like, it's been such a simpler process, and it's been really easy, because the whole time I didn't know that he doesn't care.
No, you've unlocked something. I think you've unlocked something huge. Dare I say revolutionary and groundbreaking? Because I think that is very, Aries can make decision, but an open-ended question is nightmare fuel.
I think so. And I think it's I
think you're right.
If they know what they want, they're going to tell you. They're not going to wait for you to text and ask. So like, if he knows like I'm craving burrito, he's not going to be like, well, let's wait till she asks what I want for dinner. He's going to say, hey, can we do burritos tonight? Like, it's easy.
Yes. No, I think you've just saved a lot of marriages. And
I hope so.
I think that's like a good, well, it's like, it's the same thing as like when you go to the diner and it's like 8 million options and pages. No one likes
so hard.
No one really likes that, but I think there's some more people and signs that might feel more comfortable with that. Where Aries also, I do have an Aries moon. So, I mean, it's my like one little Aries hanging out in here, but I'm also Taurus and Cancer as fuck. So I'm planning Thursday's meals planned. You know, the next week's meal, like I'm using leftovers from the dinner before to make this and to go that, like, it's a super plan. Also, you know, Cap Saturn, all of that stuff. But I think Aries is also like, well, I don't know how I'm going to feel at 6 p.m. And that might also then affect the meal that I want to put in my body, or the TV show I want to watch, or if I want to go out, or if I want to see. And I think it's so much more like, I think for other signs, they might, well, I set the plan to see my friends at this time, or to eat this meal. And Aries might be like, that looks disgusting now. Can we do something different? Like, I'm open to the difference, because now in the moment, that's not what I planned. Where I think for me as a Taurus Cancer person, I'll be like, I'll just eat the slop because that's what was planned. That's what was planned for the evening. No. This the food applies to other things as well, but it's very there.
I think the key for all of it, and the most Aries thing of everything at every step, because I also think that something, you know, as we're obviously, this is, you know, us just kind of gushing about Aries and talking about this, but I think with all signs we can think about as we've kind of been saying, like, how do I embody this? How do I apply this or whatever? And I think that the most Aries thing is kind of like communicating at each step why what you're like, where you are at.
Oh,
And
my
I think it's that
God.
thing of saying like, oh yeah, if Aries aren't saying what they want, it's because they don't have an idea about what they want yet. Because when they know what they want, they say, I want this. And so there's this idea of like, I think it's like just speaking for yourself. I like if someone asks you, I'm thinking of my interactions with my Aries of now saying like, I'm deciding between these two things. I don't, because I also don't like picking food, but it's like, oh, I'm just going to walk you through my process instead of assuming that everybody has the same process. It's saying like, I'm only responsible for mine and my thoughts and my wants at each step. So like right now I can't decide between this food or that food because I'm thinking about, I want this, but I know if I eat this later, I'm going to feel this way. And then usually I feel like Aries people are like, that's a lot to consider. I'm just thinking about this right now and don't
Right.
worry about that. Like, here's what I want. But then we're talking about like, again, just speaking for ourselves. And I think a lot of times we feel like we have to speak for other people, or we have to think about other people before we speak, instead of just really being like as tender. And I'm thinking of another Aries person I know too, because I think that there's just something about being really tender and sweet to the part of you that's just talking about you. Like that's like,
Yeah.
I really want an ice cream sundae right now. And I'm thinking of like funny people that we know that just say like, there's something so funny and playful and childlike about just saying exactly what you want in that moment.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
I-
Well,
I
I
hate
think
to-
too. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I hate to always make everything food, but I'm thinking just and I don't know, I don't know if this is always particularly Aries, but like I don't mind stopping at multiple places if it means everyone gets what they want as well. Like
Mhm.
I like, for example, for me
Yes.
and my love, like, oh, you're going to the burrito stand? Cool. The sushi place is across the hall, not the hall, whatever, the street. I'm gonna get that, or can you pick that up for me? And then we both get what we want, and it's in the same swoop, right? Like it's
I
like
love that too.
we don't have to do everything together for
I
fuck's
agree.
sakes.
I
I
agree.
also
Love this.
I also today I had a whole thing with my mom, and like whatever, I was just talking to her and I was like, I'm frustrated, and she said, well, you're already doing it or whatever. And it's something that we used to talk about a lot in the beginning episodes of this podcast, but we probably haven't talking. Okay. We probably haven't spoken about very much recently. The sunk cost fallacy, which I feel like is something that Aries are really good at.
Yes.
And so I found this
that has been coming up a lot lately.
it's such a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think it's very Aries season. And I found this, because I think the sunk cost idea is basically this idea that you're already invested, so you should stay. It's something that is analyzed a lot in poker, in the stock market, in finance, in the economy, in a lot of other ways. But also, people use it in careers and performance and the entertainment industry a lot. I found this kind of analogy from Wikipedia that I think makes a really good sense. It's from an Economist or whatever, one of those articles. And it's just an everyday example. A family purchases tickets to a baseball game. They find after several innings that they're not enjoying the game. Their options at this point are to, 1, accept the waste of money on the ticket price and watch the remainder of the game without enjoying it. 2, accept the waste of money on the ticket price and leave to do something else. The Economist suggests that since the second option involves suffering in only one way, wasted money, while the first involves suffering in 2, wasted money plus wasted time, option 2 is actually preferable, where most people will just stay and say, well, we paid for the tickets. And I think this is a really good point for Aries season, because I think Aries have that, we talk about like the cardinal instinct, right? Where it's, okay, well, let's just go. I don't want to do this. Let's just leave. We're not having a good time. Let's just go. Where I think other signs might be in the thing of, but we just bought all this and like you worked extra to get this, and we paid for hot dogs we didn't like, and and that's like Aries I think can instinctually like invalidate the sunk cost idea.
Well, it's like I'm my Aries moon jumped out where I'm like, don't worry, I'll get the refund. Where I'm like, don't worry, like, well, but maybe that's the Taurus in me. I don't know, but I think there is. It's like, well, whatever. Sometimes this is what I love about Aries culture is like, whatever. Sometimes shit sucks and we couldn't plan on like that. We didn't get a seat in the shade. And like, next time I know this for the future, or that we actually don't like, maybe we should only go to night games, or maybe we should only do this. It's like, why suffering sucks. And I'm coming back to a fucking food reference. Sorry. Even like I was just, seeing a friend and I was like, I was like out of town. And I was like, I really want a chicken satay, and I'm going to order the children's menu size, and I'm only going to eat one, and I'm going to leave the rest in the fridge. And it's like, I wanted one and I got three, whatever. Like I wanted one, and I'm like, I didn't go to waste. I forwarded it on to my friend, but it like, I don't know. I think that idea of like, well, if you get the three, you have to have the three. It's like, no, I just wanted the one.
No, yeah,
that's
you
what
don't.
I'm
You
getting.
absolutely. Well, that's
and-
another Brendan
But-
Cooneyism, which I always do in these podcasts. Which
Who needs to come on
my
for
favorite-
Gemini? Who needs to come on for Gemini
right.
season?
The number one is there's a lot of room on the wrong train, which he always says. Where it's like, yeah, of course, when you just get on and you don't know which way it's going, of course it's always fucking empty the wrong way.
Mhm.
But he's like, order everything you want, and then throw.
Figure it out.
It's okay to throw stuff away. It's okay
Well-
to throw stuff away. It's better than fucking getting sick.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Again,
Or if it's a night
also
where you have to go
this-
dancing, why are you going to bring the leftovers with you? Like, it's
Same
just
with clothes. Return them. Order, get them, bring them home, try them on, return them.
donate them if anything. If
Mhm.
if the cost is low enough, where sometimes I'll do that for my JC Penney hauls, because I'm a penny girl, where I'm like, look, this shirt was $7. I'm an asshole. I will do it. Someone will love this. It's fine. I didn't like make the mistake.
It's again this idea of it being an individual instance. I think again, not
Mhm.
saying that you can't learn from it or say make a judgment on it, but it is that kind of childlike thing of like you have to you make mistakes so you can learn and move on to the next step. You don't stay at that step forever and beat yourself up about being that thing. Then then
No.
it's the double suffering. Then it's this. If you eat, I think also if you say I only wanted one, then you're more likely to say, hey, I only want one of these. Does someone else want one? Does that one like
Right.
then we because I think that's another thing that Aries doesn't get talked about. I think Aries is actually a really good collaborator in a lot of ways because they are able to say like, here's what I bring to the table. Here's what I'm trying to do. I know I can't do that thing. Do you know how to do this thing? I don't, and I don't want to do that thing. I
Right.
I want to do X, Y, and Z. I don't want to do someone else's job. So they end up kind of being in charge of exactly the thing that they wanted to do because they like said, I want to do this thing, not this thing. Can someone do this thing? Like it's that way of again, like individualizing people and understanding that that's how you build, like you can't build. I think Aries gets this like self idea, but to me, thinking of that Capricorn idea of imagining that you have to do it all yourself instead of saying, I want to do these things or what, like,
Well, now
Yeah.
I'm wondering, this is, and we need to have an episode with a person that knows more about human design. I'm now thinking Aries are almost like more projector energy, versus I think they get this generator, this doer, this like all the time. And of course, like I think Aries is really great about the go, but Aries also, I think it knows thyself. And like, and what you're saying, like, I'm not a drawer, so I need to hire someone. I need a good team. And that's so many divas are Aries because they're like, I'm the singer, but I need a stylist, I need a vision, I need branding, I need this, I need a music video director, I need that, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I think a Cap or maybe some other signs, and again, we love them all, are gonna be like, I'm doing it all. I'm holding up the ship. Where Aries is like, I don't have it's like that realistic, like I don't have time to possibly do all of this. Like I'm gonna do what I am gonna look the best at and get the most reward for, and also even getting that credit of assembling a great team, because that's an asset within itself as well.
well, it's
Well,
also
they get the leadership thing as a trait, but I think
Right.
one of the things that I think they often don't know they're leaders or they don't want to be, but I think there is this kind of and talking about saying I'm hungry, or I want this, or I like this. I don't know why. I guess I am hungry, so I keep bringing up food.
I think it's the easy. We keep like not beating ourselves up. We keep like judging it, and I think it's just the most like universal to refer to, because we all eat.
Thinking like
it
when
shows
I
a lot of
listen to
human
podcasts,
behavior.
Yeah,
if someone brings up food, I'm always like, damn, that sounds good to me, and I need it. Like, yeah, whatever. I'm trying not to do that for other people, but you can live. Also, this is a free podcast. And
you're like, Lisa, it's the Aries episode. Do you, honey? It's okay.
Yes.
I'll go pause
for
this,
sure.
get a snack. They're probably cooking while they're listening to this also.
Oh my God, cooking. But I think with the leadership thing, it's like this thing of like, well, if you're able, which they're cardinal, that you're able to start something, then people can get on board and people can go along. And that doesn't mean that you're naturally the leader of the group. Like maybe eventually, someone else takes management over what you've started. But if you're just able to say like, okay, I want to write a song, let's start snapping and going and start the beat and make everyone jump in like an improv game, what I'm doing. But it's something where if people do get on board, you can create something really big, and it feels like, wow, she just started leading that song. And it's like, no, I just wanted to sing and you guys joined in. That's from an Aries perspective, where it's like, I'm not a leader, but it's you are. You just didn't realize that you did that.
Mm-hmm. And people will look to you to lead.
Well, it's not, I think it's also, but not to be like it's leading by example, but it's not telling people what to do. It's doing the thing that they want to do. And then the kind of like structure presents itself around it. But thinking about like the divas example, it's like divas aren't, I mean, well, now I'm getting into a technical question where I'm like, oh, do we think, is Dolly Parton a diva? And I'm going to say no, because she's like enterprising businesswoman. And I think that a diva,
and she's a Capricorn.
Yeah. But I'm like, I think that you can only be considered a diva if you kind of like just do one end of the production, like thing, if you will. And it's this idea again of like, you're leading by example, by like doing your thing. You aren't demand it, like you don't create the structure, it kind of comes up around you, if that makes sense. And so it's like a Mariah Carey needs a team to prop her up because because she's doing what she wants to do, and she's
a singular first.
Yeah, the team has grown with her and with her level and all of that, but it is all based on her doing what she wants to do, doing her thing and doing this whatever.
Okay,
like,
so there's a Vogue article about Aries divas written by Marjan Carlos. It looks like they reference astrologer Kevin Jennings, and some of the divas listed, Aries divas: Chaka Khan, Mariah Carey, Diana Ross, Aretha Franklin, Lady Gaga,
Celine Dion.
And Celine Dion. And I think I don't think they referenced her in this one, which is a miss. But what they said here, and I do think this can apply to Dolly, but Dolly is more of an enterprising businesswoman, of they're leaving big marks on pop culture as well. Like they all have iconography. Again, Dolly does too. She's a cardinal queen. There's divas of every side, but Aries is very like Shaka, Mariah, Diana, Aretha, Gaga. Like we have the end all. I guess it all counts, but you can't deny that a lot of them are March Aries too, which I think is a very interesting thing. I find April Aries and March Aries to have like definitely different flavors. Obviously the Decans, whatever you want to call it, but there's just this like, I don't know, like,
well, it's a first name thing too. And I know Dolly can be a first name, but
she's Dolly Parton.
She's Dolly Parton. And if there's a second name, like there's a, I don't know. Anyways.
Look, Barbara Streisand is a Taurus. Like there's a diva of all kind, but like, they're talking about too of like Mariah Carey's Butterflies and like obviously Gaga's Monster Pots. Like it's just really making this, I feel like even Dolly was nominated to be a statue in her home state and said no. I don't think any of these Aries would have rejected this notion. Dolly said, literally, don't put me on a pedestal, maybe after I'm dead, which feels very Capricorn. Dolly, like I didn't earn it yet, so give me a break.
This is what I think it is. I think there is a like reciprocal nature in your system Whereas like Dolly sets up things for other people. Like she works with the community in a way, and not saying that these other divas aren't donating to charity, that they aren't doing those things, but
They're all
again,
humanitarians to some degrees.
but it is still like based on them. I don't know, like they're not setting up like
Dolly's not going to go on VH1 Divas, which was a specific era of just like, I am like unapologetically fabulous and myself and, you know, decked out, where I think Dolly, since she is a hardworking Capricorn, she's going to remind you that she ate squirrel as a child. You know, like she's going to remind you that she was not born a diva. Where I think the Aries queens were like, no, I was straight up fucking born a diva and I had to do this. There was like no other choice for me.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm surprised actually. I think Dolly Parton does have a lot of Aries qualities. I'm not that familiar with her natal chart, but I think just I don't know. She is also very obviously Capricorn, but I think I don't know, the big hair and everything. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
There is, that's
just
why I'm
thinking
like,
on it.
She's the only one that came up to me where I'm like, maybe I can't make. She might be the like caveat.
I don't think she's the diva, but like
yeah.
I do think that there's something about her, and maybe it's just the fact that we brought her up on this episode that I'm trying to bring it in.
Well, Dolly is a Virgo moon, Virgo rising. Again, just a hard working, humble beginnings, started from the bottom, now we're here. And of course all the other divas have worked their way, but there is this like, I think with the Aries ones, I just see them born with fake eyelashes on, where Dolly where Dolly's very like, I was not that.
I just Dolly think that she embraces
she embraces every sign. I think she's like, so yeah, I don't know, she's timeless and eternal, and she's gonna have a statue in my house when she dies. Okay.
We love all the divas, and maybe maybe we just need a divas through the zodiac episode, because we have a lot of feelings on it. And but Aries sparks that conversation as
the episode
Aries as a sign. I mean, we have an episode that is, if you guys haven't heard, that is, you know, going to give you more rundown of like stats. Does anyone want to talk about their favorite Aries celebrities or people? I mean, I don't know, obviously two of us date Aries, so I don't want to get too, you know, personal with it, but
my favorite Aries are Scott and Steve.
Mine too.
Me too.
They're great. I don't know, I didn't really have like specific people or things. I was just kind of thinking of like general qualities, and like this is maybe like a random one, and you know, let me know if this clicks or not. I find with like Aries, since there is that, you know, they get wrapped in the childlike first sign of the zodiac wonder, that they also can talk about really macabre, bizarre, kind of dark shit as well, because it's not scary to them. It's like kind of like, well, why fear the Reaper? Like that is like that's part of it. There's almost this like very childlike interest in things that are a little like more weird and against the grain, that I think other people might be like, I know this is a tough topic, or I know this, it's like, no, it's just like a life topic. So that was just something I was like thinking, like reflecting on with like Aries people. I'm like, oh, I feel like they go hard and like weird things, but they don't find it weird where other people might.
I think that they're very bright people. Like, as far as, I'm not like an aura reader or whatever, but as far as the energy that they bring, I find them very like exciting, that spark, that like brightness. I think, you know, they're kind of inherently timeless, I think, because they're so youthful in nature. Like even you know, one of my favorites is Jackie Chan, and I feel like I loved the Rush Hour movies growing up. I don't know if they're problematic. Probably they fucking are. I think
he did have like a documentary recently where he was like, I was a big time alcoholic and like abused my wife or something. But I think it was in this way. I'm going truly off of like fucked up memory, and like if I'm so wrong, I'll maybe cut this out of this episode. But I don't think it. But it was in a way that was like in this ownership way of like, I was in a rough spot and I did these things, and I'm like
I didn't know that. Well, problematic fave, I guess. But I do think that he's one that's, one of the older people that like celebrities that I know where I'm like, you still look good. Even though, I mean, I don't want to
okay.
say
Sorry.
now if
He
he's
wrote
an
about it in his book. He
abuser, but
abused his toddler, addicted to prostitutes, and I think was just that. But he taught. I now want to read his book. Oh my god. Oh my god. You
Now
will
I
not
wanna
guess
read his
this
book, but
title of this
also
book.
that's horrible.
It's 2 areas. It's 2 areas.
What is it?
Never grow
What
up.
is it?
Damn.
Oh my god! Now I don't like Jackie Chan anymore. I'm sorry.
It is never grow up.
I feel
have to
like
take it back.
I feel like I looked up his chart and I feel like it is shaped. I feel like I sent you guys the picture. Maybe I'm making this up, but I feel like his chart was shaped like a crown.
Let's check.
Or there was something. I feel
really?
like I looked it up.
Okay,
Love
how about
Elton
Elton
John.
John?
Oh,
Can
is
we talk about him?
Is
instead?
Elton Aries?
Yeah. Aries
Oh.
K. Yeah.
He,
yeah.
he
Yeah.
needs to be included in this diva
Yeah.
conversation a
Yes.
little bit more.
Absolutely.
He should be. He
Absolutely.
absolutely should be. He's
There are
ultimate.
so many. It's so funny because I was like, who is my favorite Aries? I mean, obviously you're the aforementioned.
I really thought Jackie Chan was going to be like a
Well,
non-problematic.
But he
and I
wasn't
can't
really
believe I
outed
didn't
to
even
be. He was outed.
basic
Yeah.
Google.
He outed himself.
No, sure.
And very, very Aries.
Yeah.
I do think where it's like knowing. I think that's something that doesn't get talked about with Aries a lot is just kind of like a accountability. Again, like the self. It's just like keeping your eyes on your own fucking paper. And so it's also like they know when they've fucked up. And I think that they are, I don't want to say great apologizers, but I think they are quick to say when they make a mistake. They do not have a problem again without this kind of entanglement that I think a lot of other sign energy brings to thoughts and words and all of that. I think
Or like explaining why they fucked up.
Yeah.
There's like I did
it wrong. It's very cut and dry in that way of like, I messed up, I'm sorry, I won't do it again, or like I'm going forward, and that kind of like truly forgiving and forgetting for people, like both themselves and other people, where I think they are really good at not necessarily holding the grudge. Again, they're smart, so if they notice it's a pattern, they'll do something about it, but they don't give it meaning until it has meaning. And so I think that makes them really easy to like to communicate with in that way of like they're gonna admit when they're wrong, and they're gonna forgive you when you're wrong.
I do have a favorite Aries actually, and I posted like a story or a post recently on the What's Your Sign Instagram page. I love Amy Sedaris. Amy Sedaris is like one of my favorite comedy people.
Best.
Also just loved, kind of like made this cult classic, lives in her tiny apartment knitting, probably hats for her lamps, right? Like it's just like doing her thing. I do think I know plenty of introverted Aries. I don't think being an Aries means that you're allowed. I know fire signs are like, you're allowed and crazy. And I think it's just like you're kind of marching to the beat of your own drum. And that's what like I love Amy Sedaris just for being uniquely herself, and it works even when she has these like cameos in like Broad City or Elf or like all these little things. And now her and her new show, it's like she's really doing her, and it's worked. And it doesn't mean is she this mogul household name? No, but if you love what she does, you love what she does, and she's still doing it. And I think that that's like what's really cool and uniquely Aries about Amy Sedaris.
Well, do you know her brother's
I
sign? This might be kind of interesting. He's a Capricorn.
Oh,
David
Capricorns are coming up a lot
People don't know.
on this chat.
But-
Let's just
it's cardinal.
and they're
cardinal.
horny. The horny cardinal.
Yeah.
The horny cardinals. Oh, that's interesting. Now I want to look at their if they have any cross. And he's Scorpio. Oh yeah, okay, interesting. He's an Aries Mars. Okay, interesting. But that's like what comes up when favorite Aries. So many people are Aries though. I feel like there's like every time I look up a random celebrity person, I it's like, well, of course you're Aries. Like, and also Paul Rudd, I feel like comes up a lot as like an unproblematic king who is never ages, and like it said like if you're an unproblematic white person, you'll look better as you get older. And I think while that is true, I think that Aries youth vitality gives that splash to him too. And also I think there's a difference between like Peter Pan syndrome, right? Like where someone refuses to grow up, and keeping a youthful, playful spirit of like, no, I'm not too old. It's like the grandmas on TikTok who are like, I'm tattooed and I wear leather jackets. Like that's very Aries to me, where it's like, yeah, what's your problem? Like, what? There's no rules on like, oh, I have to become boring because I'm older.
It's
No.
staying engaged with
Right.
each next step.
Yeah.
Again, where it's like, it's not, I think that's the most useful thing, is to not think that you're done living. There's always a next thing to try, or a new thing, or a whatever. And I think that's
The
youth,
new thing
is like, oh, well, what's new? Of course I could listen to music that came out when I was a kid or when I was a teenager, but also they keep making music. So I'm going to keep listening to new things. I'm going to keep updating my ideas. I'm going to keep like
Mhm.
finding a new hobby or a new place to try. And I think it's not Peter Pan. It's not abdicating responsibility or acting as if you are a child. It's remembering that your life is still there to be lived.
It's being a cool like a cool, fun,
Well-
connected grown up versus infantilizing yourself, being like what you're saying, like abandoning responsibilities of life. Like, I don't want to grow up. It's like, no, I want to grow up and be cool and be still living life still.
Well, one of the people, when I just searched Aries celebrities, one of the people that came up was Eddie Murphy, who I just listened to on WTF with Mark Maron. It's a nice interview if you like that show. He got successful really young, and it's kind of interesting now because he's, he kind of started stand-up when he was 18, and he's like, I think, I haven't looked at his natal chart, but from listening to it, he said he quit stand-up when he was like 27, which Saturn return, right? And then he's starting again, and I think he's like, nearing 60. So it's second Saturn return, which I think is so interesting, just like as an astrology perspective. But I also think that kind of he's a good representation of like
Saturn
someone
Capricorn.
who did things young.
So that really
Yeah.
So
out. Yeah. So he like did a lot of things young too. And I think, he got successful very young. He got on SNL very young. He started making movies, which is why he quit comedy, because he said he just didn't like it. It was too recognizable. People would laugh at anything he do, or, demand things or whatever. But I think had like a very individual kind of like, when someone offers me a movie, like I'll do that, or I'll do this, or like an individual, like kind of mindset, where it wasn't like, I'm going to try to do everything at once. And also like, though he had success young, really maintained a kind of professional and respected attitude, which I think is very difficult to do in entertainment specifically. We see child stars, and not that he was a child star, but he was young. He was doing stand-up in clubs when he was like 16 and shit. So I think for sure having that professionalism and that kind of mentality, that's definitely to me an Aries thing, where you're like, yeah, you're young, you're young your whole life, or like not like that you're naive or anything like that, but just like you're kind of good to go in a lot of ways. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think about that, like at least with my like Aries moon, where I'm like, oh, this will keep me young. Like, or like this keeps me in and in check with the kids, but also just like, I just don't want to check out. He didn't check out. He just went and did something. He decided, and he just went and did something different. And I think Amy Sedaris did like a similar thing. Like, she made a TV show a long time ago, checked out, and made her newer TV show at Home with Amy Sedaris, I believe, when it probably for not like when certain things lined up, like, okay, I wrote some books, or I did this thing. Like, I don't know. I think it's like what works for you as the individual, and not the public, and not your manager, or not this. It's like, it's all about you, and in the best of ways, in being selfish. I love when we get to do chart readings and get to tell people to lean into their Aries energy and be more selfish, because you're just then being more honest. A lot of the time you're being more honest about what you need, which helps other people get what they need. Because we can float along and do, be agreeable and say whatever. And I don't think Aries are contrarian by any means, but they say no and they say yes. And it's not like there's not like a game. I don't think of Aries as like being people that test people or like
No.
game people. Like there's who has the time? Save it for the water signs. But like that's like it's just about like do we like each other? Do we hate each other? Are we into this? Are we out of this? Give me the yes or no so I can just like go about my business. And to the newness, this is something I'd written down in my little bullet points. I love that they're like, will meet your friends and like meet new people. Like, I think a lot of, I know Drake, again, water signs, no new friends. It's like, no, like I might meet cool friends older. Like, I'm not done. That's like so limiting. Like Aries don't want to limit their possibilities. That's no. I'm doing hand motions. All I can do is like hand motions. Like saying yes doesn't mean that I'm going to keep all of you people or keep all these ideas or keep all these opportunities. It just means I'm going to see if there's something better.
Hell yeah.
For sure.
Aries.
I have one final piece of wisdom to impart. It has nothing to do with the Aries season, but I did get a parking ticket today. I thought I'd let you guys know if you're in the city of Los Angeles, you do get a discount.
Oh,
wow.
See, Aries, act on it. Just get it done.
Get it done.
I don't think Aries will. Aries, I feel like does have many unpaid parking tickets probably somewhere, but you know what? That's who has the time.
But if they were going to pay
let's make it a
away,
competition, Aries. If you can get that paid the fastest, you win.
Pay it right away. Get that discount. And fortune favors the bold. Pay your parking ticket with bold quickness.
And this another one. I feel like I was like making up like Pinterest codes as I was like thinking. I was like living uncensored, like not. Of course, there's gonna be like annoying Aries. There's annoying every sign. That like, oh, I'm just saying this to offend, or I'm an Aries. I think especially Aries culture can like embolden people to maybe be their worst selves. So cautionary tale. But also like how fun to just like not just be this preconceived thing, or like if I say this I'll get this, or this is like, what if I just say it? What if I just hear it? Like we're all it's that very like we're all thinking it, aren't we? So like let's just put it out there. And what's the worst that can happen?
Hell yeah.
Aries, you're cool.
We love you. We appreciate you.
We do.
We hope you enjoyed your season, and we look forward to a year from now coming back and getting back into this energy.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, perfect new year. Like, I know it's like, that's how it all began, but like perfect new year sign of like, let's just ram it up. Rams are just, they hit their heads just because they can, like a lot of the time. So sometimes what can we do? Try it.
Oh yeah. We love you. We'll see you next time.
Aries.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to What's Your Sign. Please rate us 5 stars and subscribe on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you use.
If you like what you heard, please support us on Patreon.
You can also find us online on Instagram at What's Your Sign Podcast, or on Twitter at What's YR sign _pod.
You can also like our fan page on Facebook and join our friendship group.
Questions, comments, concerns, or to book a commissioned chart reading, you can email us at what'syoursignpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
What's your sign, baby? What's your sign?